Our Lady of Guadalupe and the Conquest of Darkness. This is Father Kevin Vogel. We continue our series on Our Lady of Guadalupe. This is going to be part 2, looking at the spiritual conquest. In the previous part, we looked at the kind of cultural darkness that the people of the Aztecs, the Mexica, and the surrounding tribes had been kind of under. It really stems this kind of human sacrifice of having to appease these demonic gods, which really, we can see the kind of fingerprints and origins of, Satan, the leader of the fallen angels. And so in the second part, we're going to look at the spiritual conquest of how God is going to try to bring the people to come to know Him. And He's going to do it through the use of showing them that they have a mother who loves them. So this spiritual conquest begins with the kind of first evangelization efforts. So when the conquistadors and Cortez had come, there were priests among them that had begun to try to convert the people with very limited success. Then after the physical conquest of Tenochtitlan and the ceasing of the offering of the human sacrifices, the people are kind of lost without a place to go, and so the Franciscans are going to be the first of the priests who come in as kind of the missionaries. So there was 12 Franciscans, 10 priests and 2 brothers, who came and they learned the Nahuatl language and other native languages to begin evangelizing the villages on specifically the western shore of the lake. Remember that Tenochtitlan was built at kind of in the center of Lake Texcoco. So there were very few converts. It was very difficult work, and there just wasn't many converts. But among the few that did convert to Catholicism was a 40-year-old man by his Indian name was Cuauhtémoc. But we know him better by his baptismal name of Juan Diego. So he is going to have importance coming up in the story in a little bit, but we'll return to him after a moment. Another important player in this story was the Franciscan Bishop Juan de Zermaga, and he's also going to have a very important role in this story as well. He himself, so sometimes people will look at and be like, well, the Catholic Church kind of imposed the faith upon the people. Well, history really doesn't play that out, because it was being proposed to them, and the fact that they had very few converts shows that it wasn't really being forced upon any of the natives. In fact, there was a respect from the Church of these people. Bishop Zarmaga was given his specific title was the Protector of the Indians of Mexico, and we'll see that unfortunately they did need protecting. Previously they need to be protected from the Aztecs and the sacrifices that would be going on, but unfortunately too there were the Spanish themselves were not always the best to them. As part of this, this is a mural of those original 12 Franciscan friars who came to Mexico in 1524. This is a fresco that you can find in the San Miguel Mission in Hueyatzinco, in Puebla, Mexico. So even though these pagan sacrifices the human sacrifices had ceased, darkness was still strong. The enemy, he'll take many different forms, and he doesn't want us to escape from his grasp and be able to have the freedom of being children of God. And so, even after being freed from the grasp of human sacrifice, the native peoples are still going to be under a kind of form of darkness. So a kind of two-tier colonial society forms, with the Spanish being kind of the privileged class and the Indians being regarded as many as kind of second class, the servants. For example, the president there, Nuno de Guzman was the president of a commission that was set up to govern Mexico. And during his first 8 months in having that office, he issued 1,500 slaving licenses. So these were licenses to allow the Indians to be used as slaves. This was not acceptable by the church. Bishop Zarmaga and the other Franciscan priests are going to try to push back, but of course, as we know, oftentimes government power is greater than the power of the church, and we have only so much ability to do that, to protect them. So it certainly was a reason why Bishop Zarmaga was given this title in the church as protector of the Indians of Mexico, because they were being exploited by some of the Spanish. So here we have this case where the Indians had been liberated from one culture of evil, but because this evil has its origin in the fallen angels, this human wickedness is not going to let go that easily. If we really think about the native people and what this would have been like for them, their world had fallen apart. It was completely shattered. Their old way of doing things, the temples, the idols were destroyed. Half of their population has been decimated by new diseases, things that they don't understand. The corruption and slavery now by these Spaniards that were there. And they were certainly thinking that their world was coming to an end. That was the belief from their old faith, that if they ceased doing these sacrifices, if they didn't offer human sacrifices to the gods, what they wanted, then their world will fall apart. Well, they were no longer able to do that, and so now it feels like their world is falling apart. It almost, in a sense, confirms them deeper in those old ways, and believing that that's what if there is any kind of God, that's what they must be like. They must be ones that desire human sacrifices. So they're going to need a new foundation for their lives. And if this foundation is going to be Christianity, it's got to be part of them. It has to become their faith. It can't just be the faith of the people who's conquered them, especially thinking in terms of the faith of the people, some of those people that are enslaving them. Certainly not. So Bishop Zarmaga wrote in one place that if God did not provide a solution from his own hand, this land is about to be completely lost. He knew that there needed to be some kind of divine intervention. It wasn't working simply by the means of human work. And that's where comes in our mother. Am I not your mother? It's a question that Mary asks of Juan Diego, we'll find out. So here's kind of a map of the context here. You can see Lake Texcoco, and in the middle there we have Tenochtitlan. Up to the north there you can see the label Tepeyac. Tepeyac Hill is going to be very important. And there we have a modern Google map to kind of show you where those places are in Mexico City today. Where so the lower one is to mark that temple, at the center of where Tenochtitlan was, the pagan temple, and the top mark is to mark Tepeyac Hill. So many others have produced much better, video movie-like explanations of what happened in this account of Our Lady of Guadalupe. So I know that mine will be very limited in it. If you want a wonderful something to watch, there is a video called Guadalupe, the Miracle and the Message. Highly recommend it. It's very good. And I actually show just a little snippet of it as part of the class, but since this is going online, and for copyright reasons, we won't be playing it, so I'll just have to kind of explain and speak through kind of what occurs. So this goes to Juan Diego Cuauhtémoc. Remember, that was his Indian name. So there's his years of birth. So he was alive actually during the time of the dedication of the temple. The 80,000 sacrifices. He probably didn't actually see it because he was of one of those surrounding tribes, not directly living in Mexico City. As we saw, Tepeyac is outside the city, kind of north of there. So by this time he's 40 years old, and so the moment is going to be on the day is Sunday, December 9th of the year 1531, and he's on his way to morning mass. It's a Sunday, and as he's on his way, he is going along Tepeyac Hill to get to the parish church. And this beautiful lady, which we know to be Mary, our Blessed Mother, the Mother of God, though Juan Diego didn't necessarily know that yet, appears to Juan Diego on this hill. And so we can listen to, in her words, as is described in the account, what is her message. She says to him, "Know and understand well, you, my most humble son, that I am the ever-Virgin Holy Mary, Mother of the true God, for whom we live, of the Creator of all things, Lord of heaven and earth. I wish that a temple be erected here quickly, so that I may therein exhibit and give all my love, compassion, help, and protection, because I am your merciful mother. To you and to all the inhabitants on this land, and all the rest who love me, invoke and confide in me. Listen there to their lamentations, and remedy all their miseries, afflictions, and sorrows." Such beautiful words. Here is our mother, right? She's come to her children. She has seen that they've been so many years under such deep darkness, such evil, and in the moments of being brought out, the human ministers of God's freedom from this darkness to them have themselves been enslaving them into the same kind of darkness. They're lost. They don't know where to turn. They're miserable. They're in sorrow. And so Mary comes to show them, no, I'm your mother. You have a mother. That there's a God who loves you. We'll see that will be spoken and in even clearer terms for them through the image, the miraculous image that is given to them. So as part of this first encounter, having learned that this is Mary, the Blessed Mother, she asks Juan Diego to go to the bishop, Zermaga, and request this shrine, this church be built there on Tepeyac as this place for all to come and to know that they're loved. So Juan Diego obediently goes to the bishop and speaks of this request from the Blessed Mother. And understandably, Bishop Zarmaga is skeptical. He has to be, in a certain sense, as a bishop. We have to evaluate if somebody brings this kind of miraculous message. We can't just automatically assume that's true. We have to evaluate it first. And so he doesn't believe it right away. He sends Juan Diego upon his way. And Juan Diego does. He returns, as he's going back home, returns to the lady who tells him to try again. He returns then back to Bishop Zarmaga, and this time Bishop Zarmaga tells Juan Diego, I need a sign. I need some kind of sign that this is indeed our Blessed Mother. So Juan Diego again returns to Our Lady, and she tells him to come back tomorrow, and she will give him the sign that the bishop needs. So Juan Diego, indeed, he goes back home, but he doesn't show up the next day on Monday to meet Mary, and it's because his uncle Bernardino is deathly ill. He's on his deathbed, really, and so he's wanting to take care of him. Finally, on December 12th of 1531, Juan Diego is sent by his uncle desires the priest to come from their parish to administer last rites since he is so ill. And so Juan Diego is going to go to to retrieve the priest. He's in a hurry, so I mean he still has this in mind that Mary is waiting for him to come back, but he has an important. I mean, he needs to get the priest for his uncle, and so he tries to go a different way around the Tepeyac Hill to avoid meeting her, but she ends up coming down to him anyway, and so Juan Diego again meets our Blessed Mother. And so this is what Mary says to Juan Diego: "Let not your heart be disturbed. Do not fear that sickness, nor any other sickness or anguish. Am I not here, who is your mother? Are you not under my protection? Am I not your health? Are you not happily within my fold? What else do you wish? Do not grieve, nor be disturbed by anything. Do not be afflicted by the illness of your uncle, who will not die now of it. Be assured that he is now cured." So once again, Mary comes as a mother consoling her child, Juan Diego, as she's has this desire to console all of her children here. Confirms this, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of this illness. I'm your mother. I'm here to protect you. Very different from, the pagan faith that they had known beforehand. We'll see. One that actually shows love and concern for them. Also, as part of this, Mary appears to Bernardino in his home where he's ill, and this is where she actually reveals her full name. She says that I am the perfect eternal virgin, Holy Mary of Guadalupe. So that's where we get the name Guadalupe, referred to her image here. See, that's how she reveals her name to Bernardino. And at that moment, Bernardino is well from his illness. Mary instructs Juan Diego to go to the top of Tepeyac Hill and to gather the flowers that he'll find there. Of course, this is a little strange to Juan Diego. He doesn't expect to find any flowers because it's the wintertime. And in fact, he's dressed quite warmly in order to, because it's cold. But there he goes in obedience, and he finds flowers there in full bloom. He probably didn't know, but these were Castilian roses that would grow, from in Spain, not native to Mexico, and not, in season, definitely at this time. So he gathers the roses up into his tilma. This is the sign that the bishop had asked for, that Mary is providing. He comes back down to Mary, and Mary arranges the flowers within his tilma, and he closes his tilma up, this kind of coat that he's wearing, and he kind of pulls it up to hold the roses, and then he's going to bring these roses as a sign for the bishop. So then when Juan Diego comes into the presence of the bishop, he opens up the tilma, and the roses fall to the ground, revealing an image of Our Lady of Guadalupe upon the tilma, this miraculous image. And this miraculous image, and really the coming of our Blessed Mother as a mother to all of the native peoples there, is going to absolutely change their world. Things are going to be completely different because of her coming. We will continue looking at that in the next couple of videos. Next time we're going to look specifically at kind of the miraculous nature of the image of Our Lady Guadalupe itself, as well as then the final time we're going to look at specifically how this image is kind of the language of Mary as their mother speaking to her children in order for them to come to know the real and true God and to be freed from, in a deeper way, from the darkness that had entrapped them for so long. God bless.